Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, to a video about the Leningrad, which is the Soviet reward destroyer. And I should have made a video about the ship like a month ago. Sorry about the massive delay, but other things were more important, and also I couldn't really believe how bad this ship is. And the first scene is, in a nutshell, everything that you need to know, because in just about, there we go, I just received a bridge hit, and that takes the control away from me for nearly a minute. And that spells doom for the ship. While this could certainly happen to all other destroyers and other ships in the game as well, it is particularly painful in this position for this ship, because I wanted to get into an ambush position to just, stay behind this island and then try to gun down any opponent that would come around this island. But now I am coming around the island. I have no control over the ship. I have absolutely no control over the ship in terms of rudder or speed. So, and the problem is my guns take very, very long to turn around. But there is already the enemy, and I overlet him here quite a lot. So then there is also, from the two front guns, the very low DPM. Only every 6 seconds I can fire a shot. And then if I try to maneuver to bring all other guns to bear, the ship wobbles all over the place, and in fact there are very, very narrow firing arcs to bring in fact all 5 guns to bear. And so it is inevitable that here I lose this fight versus the Project 7U Stroini, which is a way better destroyer, despite having 1 gun less. And I thought it would be the other way around when this ship was first announced. I cannot tell you how frustrating this ship is. If you think that I'm hating on this ship, if you think that I'm over exaggerating, if you think that I'm kind of in the mood for like all the other destroyers, like the German Z-32 with its cruiser guns, or with some of the American destroyers that have 5, 6 or up to 8 dual purpose 5-inch guns with a higher rate of fire with significantly faster turret rotation speed, then you are wrong. I played, of course they have the same battle rating, so they are significantly better, and the Navikzerstörer, if you come across that one, it will just eat you alive. Unless you get a very, very lucky ammo rack detonation early on. But I think I have to really explain to you why the ship is so fundamentally bad. It has to do with the guns, and they are the same guns as on any other Soviet destroyer, but you have more of them. You have 5 of them, which sounds like a great advantage, right? And so you would be like a bit between the Project 7U and the Tashkent, right? Or you would be on par with the Moskva. But in fact, you're significantly worse. Look, the turret rotation speed is very, very slow, like with some other Soviet destroyers. The rate of fire, and therefore the DPM, is not the greatest. It's the worst amongst the destroyers, excluding here the Navikzerstörer, which has bigger guns. So you also don't have the DPM. And yes, your shells deal more damage on average to enemy ships than 5-inch guns, including base use HE, but to get the guns on target, to actually hit the target, because the dispersion can be really trolly at times, it just doesn't work. The ship is very fast though. 80 kilometers per hour is really, really quick. I have to give it that. And if you compare it to some other destroyers, for example, the Somers is 11 kilometers per hour slower. The Sumner is 17 kilometers per hour slower. The Fletcher, 15 kilometers per hour. It is very similar here with the German destroyer. So 80 kilometers per hour is really, really quick, okay? And so you can actually go for the far cap and enjoy then the ride, and you can try to gun down enemies at long range, which is probably the sweet spot for this destroyer. But at close quarters, at medium range, if you get focused down, you are a very easy ship to destroy. Like with some other Soviet destroyers, the Amrak is above the waterline, but the combination of those very limited firing arcs for all 5 guns, and also the exposed Amrak together with the huge size and overall vulnerability of the ship make it very painful. So if you play with the thought of getting the ship from the marketplace, do yourself a favor, don't. Buy yourself the regular Project 7U, which is also not the very best destroyer out there, I have to say this, but it is better than this one. Now when I talk here about limited firing arcs, every single turret has here some problems. Obviously the foremost one can't really fire backwards like the super firing one, but that is to be expected. But the second, the super firing turret, is further restricted from firing backwards. It can only fire in a 180-degree radius because next to it there are some 37mm anti-aircraft guns. And the same is with the third turret, which also has very narrow firing arcs. And the same then goes for the fourth turret, which is limited by some 76mm turrets. And then also the rear turret can't even fire backwards because it is limited by a 76mm double turret. So to bring all 5 guns to bear requires you to give full broadside to maneuver very precisely, and you have a margin of error in terms of firing arc of, let's say, 5, 6, 7 degrees, something like this. This is brutal. And even if you think that you can then sail away from an enemy ship and then have better firing angles while being slightly angled, etc., no, then another turret just isn't able to fire. And you don't have those limitations with the Project 7U, which has 1 turret less, which most of the time can bring all 4 guns to bear, unlike the Leningrad, which only mostly can use 3 guns, or at best 4 guns, very rarely all 5 guns. And the battle in the background shows the ship under perfect circumstances. I don't get focused down, I can keep the enemies at range, I don't have to dodge here any torpedoes, and I can angle myself in such a way that in fact I can bring all 5 guns to bear, while the enemy come at me one at a time, getting shot by some of my teammates. And this already dictates the playstyle of the ship. It is a support vessel, it is best used at long range, and hope that there are no light cruisers because they just would stomp you in the ground easily. So that is the ship. What I hoped is that it would be significantly better than some other Soviet ships, in fact that it would increase the DPM, the effective DPM in battle, and not lower it. Sadly, this hope has not come true. So in fact, if you ever wanted to know what a ship looks like that I really despise, that I really think is extremely unfun and not really suited for the meta by being overconstructed, then I think look no further, the Leningrad is one of those cases. It is just painful. I think it combines all the weaknesses of the Soviet destroyer line and exaggerates them. And that is just really not great. I could bring you here a huge variety of battles where I can't bring the guns on target, where I can't react to an enemy, where I can't go into the PT boat area because I can't really deal with the PT boats with my main guns, and something like a Project 206 requires the main batteries to really take down, like the Jaguar, where your 37mm, as good as they are, cannot really deal with this in time before it deals with you. And again, the exposed MREC being mostly above the waterline is just a very easy to hit target. And unlike some other Soviet destroyers and German destroyers and American destroyers in particular, you don't have this blowout effect that your frontal MREC gets hit and it gets ignited, but you can extinguish the fire. Then you cannot use your main guns anymore, but then you can refill it in theory in a capture zone. No, not possible with this ship because it just simply explodes. Very reliable. And again, hope that there is no light cruiser. The German cruisers in the past were very good in absorbing damage, and now they are as fragile as this ship is in terms of cruisers, and that tells you quite a lot. The Alpha Strike, yes, it is there. Yes, your guns deal damage, but it's more on the Alpha Strike fire. You are on the Alpha Strike damage side. It is not really a DPM monster. Now, I know that this is not really the playstyle and you should adapt for it, but all the restrictions, and I have to repeat this all the time, they just intensify each other. And that is really, really bad. So this battle was, again, under the very best circumstances. My team played with me. I was not focused. I was able to bring all 5 guns to bear all the time while sitting in a capture point, while not having to maneuver and to move and to angle. I could happily blaze away all the time. And still, the result was not the very best. Another thing is, I was so unimpressed with the ship's performance that I saved myself the 1.6 million silver lines that this ship requires to get the expert qualification. And I know what kind of difference that the expert qualification would make from a normal ship to then the upgraded experted ship. And trust me, the ship doesn't really min-max itself in this way. It just is better to save yourself that money, to just let the ship in the harbor rot as a good collectibles item, but not really as a grinder. In my opinion, the Project 7 Ustroini is a better ship to deal with enemy ships despite having 1 gun less, having less anti-aircraft capabilities. Again, I think the ship has too many muscles to really walk. I think that's the problem, because all the extra gun emplacements restrict the firing arcs of the guns, and they take forever to turn. So a tactical move, a tactical surrounding going the other side of the island, you can do exaggerate here a little bit, play an entire air RB match before the guns rotate 180 degrees. This is how terrible they are. It's a little bit of an exaggeration, but if you are under stress, if you have to quickly deal with the enemy, have to disable him, have to kill him, have to just shoot up a patrol boat, yeah, you can rely on the 76mm guns, but they also turn very slowly. You can rely on the 37s, but there are absolutely no contrast to the 40mm Bofors power that the American destroyers have. And you also, despite having, the German destroyers have just a higher DPM with a 3.6 second reload. Yes, they don't have armor piercing, but they don't need this against you. And base use AG deals terrible damage to you. And so you will lose a fight versus German destroyers, you will lose a fight versus American and British destroyers, and even versus the majority of other Soviet destroyers. And I think you are the worst, or the Leningrad is the worst 4.3 battle rating destroyer in the game. Again, this was the very, very best battle, and it doesn't look like this in this match, and I just could make it work. But remember, trust me when I say that this is a bad ship, and when you play with the thought of getting your hands on it, just don't. This is the ship that I despise the most. It looks very promising on paper, it looks very good on paper, it maybe looks good in this battle that I play, but all the circumstances were in my favor, and there is nothing that I couldn't have done with another destroyer as well, or even better. I could have finished off the enemy destroyers here with a normal Type 1936. I could have dealt with them better, faster, and more reliable, while being able to tank just a touch more. And I think this is the quintessence of this ship. So, in danger of me repeating myself again, I have to say that this ship was extremely unfun, and I was very glad that I had this battle to get at least one decent result in. I have to say that this will probably be the last ship that I will show from kind of the new wave for this patch, because ship RP is in kind of a dubious state to begin with. But I think as much as you can blame Gaijin on map design, balance, and bringing in bugs with every new patch and not fixing them, etc., it's just the ship's design. Again, too many guns put at the wrong places to hinder themselves. This is just the ship's own design that stands in its way. If the turret rotation speed would be faster, if the firing angles would be better, hell, if I would exaggerate and say that I would love this ship to be like the Moskva or like the Tashkent, then it would be, it would have its own niche. But in that status, no, it is absolutely not to be recommended. There is just a handful of ships that I absolutely despise, like this one, that are absolutely trash. This one is really bad, trust me. This is the exceptional battle, this is the outstanding result. I had even some more battles where I was really lucky and had even more kills, but this was one of the few battles where I actually survived. So let's roll in the end result, and for 5 kill assists, 4 ship kills and 1 air kill, I got 34,000 silver lines and 4,500 vehicle research points. That's not really outstandingly good for one of the best battles that I had, that I also won with a premium account and the premium status of the ship. I hope that you see where this is going, and this is why I made all the cuts. So I'm sorry if you expected this ship to be really exciting and outstanding. It's just not really all that great. I'm sorry to say this, I'm sorry if I sounded negative, I'm sorry if you were bored with the video. I had to make the video, I promised it, and that's just simply how the ship is. Having said this, that's finally it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Let me know your thoughts about this ship and the general status of naval RP or naval forces in general in the comment section down below. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies, on the battlefields, and on the waves of War Thunder.